To give us, shed more light on this issue with JAMB is the Information Director and the PRO for JAMB, Mr. Benjamin Fabian. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
Good to have you on the show this morning. So before you came on, we're discussing our thoughts on the recently reviewed cutoff mark for JAMB, and many have really criticized it, saying that it was lowering the standard of educational qualifications. Could you give us an idea, an insight into why it was a collective decision amongst your policymakers within the JAMB, within JAMB?
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to plead with Nigerians that we have to be very careful when we begin to discuss these issues, especially when we don't seek expert opinion. When you dabble into something that you don't have understanding, the tendency is that you begin to mislead the public. And people will begin to feel as if the system they run is inferior to what is obtainable elsewhere. First, let me explain this. There is nothing like cutoff mark. That word, that concept is an aberration. We don't have anything called cutoff mark. So whatever you are dwelling on, it's just an exercise in futility that you have dwelled so much on what does not exist. What we have come up with on Saturday is the minimum admissible score. Don't forget, there are universities that have adopted their minimum to be 250, some 220, some 210. And the meeting collectively agreed that, look, no institution, no degree awarding institution should admit below 140. Below 140. It's not a cutoff mark, it is a minimum. It's a minimum. But even having said that, most of the people that are arguing and all those things, have they also looked at the issue of direct entry, A-level, where the pass mark is 2 points? EE, once you have EE, the A-level, anywhere in the world, that is the minimum. You can be admitted to read, even in London, University of London. And what is EE? EE is 2 points. And when you take 2 points and compare it over 16, and then the 140 over 100, what do you get? So let us not begin to say things that will make people feel as if the education that we run in Nigeria is superior to what is sustainable elsewhere. If I want to go to University of Ghana today, what qualifies me for admission at University of Ghana is the O-level. I am not going to write JAMB to go to University of Ghana. I'm not going to write down to go to University of London. What qualifies me is the O-level, the Arusha Convention acceptable requirement, the O-level, 5 O-level credits. The JAMB we are doing is just to run these candidates. If tomorrow we wake up and we have sufficient spaces in this tertiary institution to admit everybody, there won't be need for this admission, for this examination, sorry. That explains why if you look at our name, it says joint admissions and matriculation, but there is no examination in it. Examination is just a vehicle that we are adopting to achieve that mandate for which we are set up. The mandate is that, look, the first 6 universities in Nigeria came together to say, let us have a central admission body that will coordinate the exercise so that we don't have duplicity, multiplication, and all this, so that candidates don't secure admission on 1 or 3 places. Because the spaces were beginning to shrink. That was how JAMB came into. But to guarantee, to ensure equity and fairness, examination is conducted. And to summarize what I'm saying is that what you are talking about is a minimum,
Mr. Fabian, I think Mr. Fabian, that's the issue, because they feel that the minimum should be a bit higher than that, because when you do that, you're giving some universities the allowance to bring in people who probably don't have the intellectual capacity to come into university in the first place.
That is also wrong. First of all, every university anywhere in the world has the right to admit the kind of candidate that they want to admit. And no system, no country that has all the universities that are ranked at the same level. If you go to US today, you talk about Harvard. Even within the precincts of Harvard, there are other universities that are close to Harvard that are not known. So every university defines its own standard. You cannot say all the universities in Nigeria should operate at the same standard. That is also wrong. Today in Nigeria, the University of Lagos, the kind of requirement it will want to admit its candidate will not be the same thing with the university in wherever. I don't want to mention them. University of Ibadan, we have its own requirements. So this university will grow, will define their own standards, and others will come out like that. So you cannot say all universities should be on the same level. But even having said that, the JAMB examination will conduct is not a defining standard.
All right.
I don't know why people labor so much. Instead of us to sit down and begin to talk about the quality of secondary school we have, because that is the foundation. That is where the standard is defined. If today we don't have good secondary schools, and they were talking about JAMB, we are wasting our time, because if all the foundation is destroyed, the building cannot stand. But let me also say this. Let me emphasize this. Please, I want you to take this thing very serious. The examination we conduct is a ranking examination.
Yeah.
And that explains why when people talk about why not last more than 2-3 years, we say no, it's not possible because it's a ranking examination. It's not like the TVC wants to employ today and they conduct an interview. If you don't get employed and they want to employ next year, they're not going to use that examination that they conducted last year to employ for next year. It's a ranking just to rank candidates, place them in this particular space. So it's a minimum that nobody should go to.
All right, let me get a few more questions in for you, Mr. Fabian, because lots of questions are coming. Go ahead, Mariam.
Yes, so where I was going to go with my question, you have emphasized it at the end, which is you're saying it's a ranking examination. And although you seemed a bit upset, when you started answering the question, it's best to answer these questions so that people are aware. Some of these conversations may come across to you as, we don't know, people are just talking without understanding what they're saying, but until, it's because we have interest in this and we want to know more. So now, when you say it's a ranking examination, because a lot of parents think that this, and we celebrate it, we're excited about it for our children, they think that this is like a minimum requirement to get into university. And if you say it's just a ranking, are you saying it's not that important then for students? Let me just finish. I'll finish and then you can respond. And then when you keep lowering this ranking, are you saying that you are ranking our universities lower and lower every time you reduce the minimum requirements for students? And also, I know you said JAMB is not like a standard exam, but do you think that there's an unintended consequence of making Nigerians less motivated to pay attention to their education or do well in these examinations?
Not at all. Let me explain. Let me say this. Today, so many countries are coming to Nigeria to come and understudy what we are doing, so that they can also establish a central body like JAMB. Because population is, the people are expanding, spaces are shrinking and all those things. So people are beginning to see how do we ensure that we create an agency that will guarantee equity and fairness. I have not mentioned that it's not a standard examination. The standard is there according to what it is established to achieve. But what I am saying is that, just like my registrar will always give this illustration, TVC is invited to go and see Mr. President. And they say, okay, they have a vehicle that will take 6 people. And then there are about 10 people. And then the managing director decided, okay, what do we do? Every member, the qualification is that you are a staff of TVC. That qualifies you to go to Villa to go and see Mr. President. But we have space, only 6 space. What do we do? The man has come up with an idea. Okay, let's do an exam. Let us do a test. The first 6 people that will pass, they will go into the vehicle and go to Abuja to see Mr. President. And the first person score 10 over 100. Of course, if they are 10 over 100, somebody will tell you they failed this thing. The second person score 9. Then the last person score 1. The 6th person score 1. Others score 0. Are you going to leave the person that score 1 because he has scored 0? No. You are looking for 6 people. And the last person score 1. At least it's better than the 7%, the 8%, and 9%. You pick it. And once you fill your slot, that is all. So that is the way this examination is conducted.
Okay.
The candidate, it is celebrated, good and fine, yes, you have this score, because you are competing with others. If I want to read medicine in University of Ibadan, if I have anything less than 350 and 320, 40, I don't even stand a chance. That is how the competition is. So the issue of lowering standard does not come into being. It depends on whatever you are aspiring to go or where you are aspiring to go. If I want to read medicine in University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, University of City, I must study to score high. That is the competition. If I want to read education somewhere and all those things, well, because the competition is not there. If I score for 140 and they get the opportunity. And in any case, let me say this. When people talk about standard, I don't know what they're talking about. For instance, let me give you one example. In colleges of education, most colleges of education can't even fill 20-30% of their vacancies. What you are discussing in the studio, what you are saying is there is that, look, let us close all these colleges. Because we can't have candidates, we can't have the standard we want according to you. So let's close them down. Because if you say, okay, let us admit only candidates with 160, 180, 200 into colleges because they are teacher education, the foundation, they will train the teacher, they will train the and all this. and we don't have them, then we'll close the institution. It is according to the subscription that you have. There are universities that, even private universities that have given their minimum as 200, minimum for any program, 200. There are some that have given their minimum at 250, minimum. It depends on how many people that are aspiring to them. But for institution whereby you don't have anybody coming to your school, you are trying to see how you can get candidates. Why won't you take the minimum that is given? In any case, the existence, the establishment of universities is to train these people and bring them up and ensure that they are what the society wants them to be. So it is not that you're bringing people that are already what you want them to be and so like
Point taken.
That's it. Sir, your point is even scaring me the more. Because it's opening my eyes to see that a lot of people are not really paying attention to education. And, you know, we can just go with the barest minimum. And, you know, when you explained the barest minimum, there's something he called it that is not cut-off mark. I think it's the same thing. It's just the semantics. We're just using different, you know, use of language.
It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not language. Please understand. When you say something is cut off, what that means is that once anybody gets that, is qualified to be admitted.
Okay, but you've explained.
When you say something is minimum, what that means is that you're not supposed to go lower. Like we say, okay, we want to employ in this system, we just need a graduate. What that means is that you must have a first degree to be qualified to be employed. That does not mean that once you have a first degree, then you carry your back and then go and start working.
Yes.
No.
Okay, I get you. But in your explanation as well, there are some universities that may not have people coming, which they can go with that minimum. So it's almost the same thing. But that's not my point,
If you don't have, why not?
Yes.
If you don't have, why not? So are you suggesting that university should close shop?
No.
Is that your suggestion?
Okay.
Are you suggesting that university should close shop? Which one is better for you?
Okay, so,
upgrade.
okay, may I ask, sir, the emphasis is so much on universities having students as against universities having students who are qualified.
It's not the emphasis. The existence of education is that we will have candidates that we train. Without candidates, there will be no system, no university.
Okay.
It's a
And then
foundational
let me
issue.
tell you one thing. The university education, the university market is a global market. What exists elsewhere is what we are also practicing here.
Okay.
We have only introduced examination because we don't have the spaces that others have. And I've told you earlier, I said, look, if you look at the trend of our subscription, because you're talking about education that is making your care and all this thing. The reward system, what you should be discussing there is that what is the reward system for people that read education? It's not that you want to force you yourself in that studio. If your child, will you want you to go to college education to go and read the education? You wouldn't want that. Why do we want to come and pontificate? We sit there and we talk things that we know right inside our mind that these are the truth. How many people in good conscience we want their children, we advise them, look, go and fill down from big education, BA education, BSc education, and all this thing. How many of them?
We don't have enough teachers.
The problem is not the program. The problem is the reward system. By the time we dwell much, we talk about the reward system, and then that reward system is what will attract people. Why do people want to go and read medicine? Because they know that at worst case scenario, you have something to do. And when you get something to do, the reward system is perfect, it's good. And that explains the competition. For medicine today, you cannot get medicine anywhere for less than 300 scores. But for education, even at 140 that we're talking, there are people that won't want to go in. Education, agriculture. That is the problem. The problem is the reward system. Once you up the reward system, the scores will also go up.
Okay, I think it's worth it. I think we can discuss it.
Yeah.
Let me let him go. I think he's made his point. Thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin Fabian. I think you've really shed some light and opened our eyes to a few other things that are important. There's a lot of conversation that needs to be had, especially the education that happens before we even get to university level. Because for me, is the crux of this, of where this is going, or what has informed this review of policy. But thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll try to unpack a bit of the information we just received. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing the issue of JAMB. We had to get some clarity from JAMB directly. I'd like to open our phone lines. I'm told we have a caller already from Abuja. Shade, good morning. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Yes, you're live.
From Abuja.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Yes. I want the man to explain, please, in clear terms, what minimum and cutoff represent, so that I may not mislead my children. Cutoff and minimum, are they not the same thing? Please. Thank you very much.
Okay, so based on our understanding, what he's saying that when you say cutoff, it means that once you have 140, you can be admitted into universities, any university, 140. That's what cutoff means, is the minimum. Now, but when he said minimum, what he was saying is that once you have minimum, there's a possibility that you might get or you might not get in. That now school will now be the one to determine if they can take you based on their own internal cutoff. But JAMB just puts that as a guide, as a baseline for anybody who's taking university. That's really difficult. In some cases, you can say it means the same thing in different ways. But listen, the point is that
this is from JAMB.
This is from JAMB.
And you know JAMB, when they ask you the question, you must take the correct answer. And they have told us.
According to JAMB. All right. So from what he has said, go ahead. Let me come to you.
So, men, we do have a problem.
Yeah.
We do have a problem. And listening to the PRO for JAMB, I am still not, it does not look like there is an intention to really solve the problem, because from what he said, what he admitted to was that the problem is not from us. We are reacting to what the schools are giving us. So you are now pointing finger at UTME that we are reducing cutoff mark, but we had to reduce because the people we are getting were not passing to the level expected. So I listened to him and I saw two major issues. One, we have a huge challenge with our secondary and primary school education where we churn out people into university. And two, we have a major issue with our educational system in terms of teachers. We are never going to get qualified teachers with this structure.
Absolutely.
Never. If our university of education, if our colleges of education are getting the worst, the dredge, you know, when you finish, what is left at the bottom, not the bottom part of jollof rice is sweet. No, this is like dredge, which is when you get the best liquid up. What is left is what you're supposed to throw away. We now throw them into colleges of education to go and teach the next batch. We have a major problem. I feel like in terms of thinking of solution, is either we totally scrap college education and let it be a case of everybody go and get the best education, you are very good. Then people that there are people I know that they like to teach. And when they get to schools that are paying them well, they will stay there. BC opted to teach. It wasn't a condition. She did not study education. She liked it. People in my children's school, I've spoken to them, qualified, they didn't study education. They love to teach. And they went into the school. So let us stop putting education, people that are going to do education as the worst of our society, and we let people go to school because they really love what they are doing.
Okay, let me take this call from Tokumbo. Good morning, Tokumbo. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Mbagada, you're live. Yes.
What the man is trying to say, which I even wanted to call before even, he's trying to say the minimum is trying to say that naturally it will go with the law of demand and supply. As people apply, it will determine, because even if they put 140, it will be for some kind of courses that most people don't apply for. And then when you look at it, many private universities don't even care about JAMB. Whatever, they just care about you doing JAMB. Actually, to know whether someone is brilliant or intelligent is when you do your WAEC or SSE. JAMB is multiple questions. It's objective. The fact that you miss it does not mean you're not brilliant. Do you understand what he's trying to say? So the minimum is that they won't cut you off. But most schools and most good courses like law that I read and medicine will still be doing 250, 270, 280 as their own cutoff marks. So it's not going to change anything. It's actually the same thing, but they're just rephrasing it. Back in the day, they may tell you 200. Yes, but that 200 is unfair because some people actually got 180 and should probably be in some courses and they will be good. Then maybe some departments don't have anybody there. It won't make sense, and some schools, the president says the law of demand and supply, just like this dollar thing. That's what he's trying to say.
Thank you, Mr. Tokumbo. You see, when he was talking, Mr. Tokumbo, we can't scrap all of the. You see, do you know, even in basic education, do you know we hardly have Yoruba teachers. We're all saying, let's just teach our local languages. You hardly have Yoruba teachers. Geography teachers are very, very scarce. Fine arts, we're having so many. What you have is your basic mathematics, English, and possibly science. Most teachers right now are we don't have specialized teachers anymore because many people are not going into those. Many people, the point is that many people are refusing to go to those areas of teaching. So it's a bigger problem Aside from the JAMB telling us.
My own problem that I'm having now after this conversation is that why am I writing JAMB?
Good.
Why am I giving my children money? Why am I trying to raise money to buy JAMB forms if JAMB really does not matter? Because that's what I'm hearing.
Just for ranking.
I'm also saying, who is setting the JAMB question? If we're saying that the cutoff mark is reducing because it's showing the failure rate, people keep failing the JAMB exam, so they keep reducing the, minimum requirement. Who is setting the JAMB questions? Are they reflective of what is being taught in schools? Is it that they are setting questions away from what our students are learning in schools, or they're learning what they are teaching them in school?
Or is it that your children are just not prepared for that exam?
That's what I would like to know. And if it does not matter whether they pass the JAMB or they are just ranking them to know their failure rate or their success rate, why am I begging one person or the other to please help me raise funds so I can buy JAMB? All I have to do is do WAEC. But the thing is, it's a requirement to go into university. If I don't have JAMB, I cannot apply to federal university.
And then you will still write post-UTME there and
there.
pay money for
so now the question is making me ask, what then is the use of having JAMB offices, staff, everything that we're... Is it just to raise money for federal government?
Let me take this
taxing me somehow through my children?
Yes,
Let me take this call from Shola. He's calling from Ikorodu. Good morning, Shola. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Good morning, Mariah.
Morning.
Good morning to all the ladies in the studio.
Morning.
You have all spoken well. But God bless you. You see, the area I'm having problem in this issue is our foundation.
Yeah.
That started with primary school and the secondary school. When you go to all these private schools, you will see the teacher, just a lady or a boy that just finished secondary school that needs something to be doing. They employ that person to be teaching a primary school student, which is very, very bad. You don't know if that person actually has passion for teaching, he has the skill, or he has the qualification before you put him there. Because you want somebody to occupy that class, you just employ them and put them. Where we have problem is our foundation. And the Bible says, when the foundation is destroyed, then what can the righteous do? So when the foundation is not good, you can't go anywhere.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shola. I was going to talk, someone was saying about we actually have to pass WAEC before you get JAMB.
Yeah.
So I guess how does that then affect the results
for JAMB?
JAMB, yeah.
So the thing is, I honestly do not understand the use for JAMB, if it's, according to his explanation, just for ranking, because I do not see what is being ranked. And I know he tried to explain the cutoff and the minimum, but what I get is, if I have 140, even if some schools will not take me because I have 140, there are still schools that will take me. So I would, if I apply to, maybe let's say a federal government university like Unilag, and they don't take me in the course I want to study, I look for a state university that would likely take me with the 140. So I am also not disqualified, and I can have access because there are schools who are willing to take me because they are not having a lot of students come there. So it's still the same problem. We still have a lot of people who will have that peg of 140, have access to university education. And the problem is so enormous because the courses that we need people to really come, we need professionals to handle. There's no proper remuneration there. People do not want to study education. People do not want to study agriculture. People do not want to study fine arts anymore. I think this is where the Ministry of Education needs to sit down with this organization, this JAMB, UTME, and the people who are going to be handling proper incentives for some of these courses so that we can get more people to study some of these courses. When they see that incentives are there, they are going to be having their bursary paid, they are going to have jobs, their salaries are upscaled. We will now get people who are interested and passionate in teaching to be in that place. Now, that College of Education that you have like a cutoff or minimum of like 100 has always been a problem for me because we are employing people who will not really be qualified to teach those children, nurture those children to the courses they're supposed to do. And we say because a lot of people are not coming for teaching, so we keep reducing it. Can we sort out the things that will make people come and see how that works and see if it's okay to just forget about this ranking examination? You do your WAEC, you pass your examinations, you apply to the schools, they give you their own standard exam, and then you get into the university if you qualify.
Take this call from Daily. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, please. I just want us to understand what Dr. Fabian said.
Okay.
You see, he has actually explained the two issues that the public are actually just misunderstanding. The first issue is this, that somebody scored 140. He just a point out the fact that person is eligible for admission and not cut off. Each university and each department has his own cut off. Even somebody might score 270 and not even be admitted at the end of the day, depending upon the number of candidates that have applied into that program.
Yeah.
So that is one. Then two, you see, Dr. Fabian said one thing that I probably want JAMB itself to borrow. He cited some developed clients where examination like UTME is not being conducted. Why are we then conducting UTME in the first instance?
Exactly.
If students can easily be admitted, that through the use of the O-level and some other related certificates. So personally, I'm of the opinion that each university should be given the opportunity of conducting its own exam as it was in the 10th past. Thank you very much.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.